Good morning, guys. Automotive Inquiries here. So I'm going to do a video on some of the things I keep getting asked or frequently asked questions about the 7.3 Godzilla. All right, first things first, another cold start. Yep, one of the common questions I get asked a ton is, what does that thing sound like with the stock exhaust? And would you modify the exhaust? Sounds awesome. And no, I wouldn't. If I was in my 20s and I love sounding like I belong at the race strip, maybe, but not for me. Second question is, what does it sound like when it's being revved up? Well, there you go. All right, next question is, somebody said, when I leave in the morning with my Godzilla, it looks like it's leaving two pools of something wet underneath the middle of the truck. And when I come home at night, it's dry, but it looks a little like a black stain. What's going on with that? Well, underneath there, every manufacturer has this. These systems, even though they're stainless most of the time, they do and are prone to rust at some point. So what they do is they put little weep holes inside your exhaust system, mufflers and stuff like that, where condensation can drain, because all fuel has water in it. So they put that in there to help prevent rusting and prolong life of your exhaust system. So it's not a big deal. Next question. What are the things that I've done and added to the truck? Again, I'm not modifying this truck a ton, but one thing I did want to do is this one specifically didn't come with fender liners, so it was just bare metal in there. So what I did is I have used these tons of times before from Husky liners. They don't endorse me or anything like that, but these are products that I really enjoy, found to have been of good value and work really well for me. They install in about 5 minutes and they look really good in here. That's going to protect your undercarriage and back of your box from any type of stuff like that, because people say, well, the bodies in these are aluminum so they don't rust. It doesn't mean they won't corrode. So that's a nice little add-on. The next thing I add is a good set of liners. So the Fords will come with carpet, obviously standard, but what I've found in the past is even their like full floor ones, they don't cover as well as I'd like. So to prevent that, because I wear work boots all the time, they're muddy and wet, snow and stuff, is I like to make sure my truck's well taken care of. So I have found that the Husky brand floor liner is one that is of good value. It is not slick. It's not like WeatherTech where it's going to warp over time and stuff. Now they do have a weather beater one. It's a little bit cheaper. It's more like the WeatherTech, and I'm not dogging WeatherTech, but these ones have a nice grippy texture, very similar to like the OEM Ram ones and other OEM ones that are actually really good. And I would buy OEM ones for sure, but the front ones in the Super Duty don't cover enough, and the back one does. That was the same with my f250. So a couple of things that I always do when I first get the truck: get some nice UV and heat resistant window tint. I don't want it total dark, but what I do like it to do is prevent sun transmission in there to damage my interior, and I also want to keep that heat down in the summer. In addition to that, people don't think of how much they do drive and how much sun's coming in that window. Skin cancer. Let's prevent that. So you can go super light and still get that UV protection. And then last but not least, I haven't added this, but I do intend on putting a tonneau cover on here. I've bought back covers for most of my life, and they've been spectacular. But this time I'm trying to see if I want to try a different brand. I like the ones that flip flush here and stuff like that. Last but not least, I am going to put a spraying bed liner in here. Ford was shipping them out without those because that was a holdup there. And then also in addition to that, I've put the LED bed lining in the bed. So I get asked quite a bit about weight ratings and payload and how do you figure that out? Well, most people know that you can find it on your door pillar. You open up your driver's door, you're going to find two different sets of numbers here. This one's going to show usually your tire pressures and your gross vehicle weight ratings, and then right up here on the Ford specifically, they're going to put in here how much payload you have. My truck specifically has 3115 pounds of payload. In addition to that, my tow rating is 14.7. That's based on the 355 rear that I have, which is another question a lot of people want to know is what rear end I have. For 23, you can get a 373 in the 3/4 ton in lieu of the 355. It looks like they're keeping the same axle ratios though for the diesel. And they may just drop the 355. I'm not sure why, but yeah, that's going to play into effect how much you can actually tow. And when people say, well, what would you recommend, an F350 or an F250? In my other videos, I've said, buy accordingly to what you're going to need or one step above. If you plan on getting a bigger trailer, then go find out the weights and see if this F250 will even work. Now you can get the max tow package on both the F350 and F250, and that'll bump those up to like 15, and then obviously on the F350 it's up in 18 and stuff like that, and then with the 430 you know, you can just keep on going from there. Next question is, they got this storage bin underneath the back seat. They've heard it's lockable. How do you lock it? Right here on the side of the seat, there's a little key hole right there. If you have a push button start, you can just remove the back end of the key out of that fob. And if you have a standard flip out key like the XLT and lower, you can actually just stick it in there and lock it. And then that box right there is locked up. So if you want to put some, you know, cargo in there at Christmas, or if you're a hunter or something like that, and you want to put some stuff in there, just temporary. Again, if a criminal really wants to get in there, they're going to get in there. But that's how you're going to lock that little bin. What kind of fuel economy do I get? Well, that's subjective to your driving, and because each truck is so different, when you talk about rear ends and wheels and everything like that and all the swag, it really can be changing into your fuel economy. In addition to that, it's your driving habits. I drive this truck in eco 90% of the time. It's got plenty of power and everything like that in eco, but I think it does help the fuel economy a smidge, and I average about 14.5 in the city, not towing anything like that. On the last road trip we took, I got almost 18 miles a gallon. I'm pretty pleased with that. Now, when it comes to towing, I don't expect it to be super high, but I wouldn't be surprised because this motor has already surprised me with how well it does. Why does Ford use these manual locking hubs still? Well, I'll tell you why. You still have four-wheel drive, just leaving this in an auto setting, but it's just like your rear diff. Until you lock it, it's a limited slip type setup. So this will still have four-wheel drive, but it allows you that once you finally get stuck, you've used the rear locker, you've got it in 4 high, it won't move, front wheels are still spinning, then you can get out, turn this to lock, and then I call it Panzer mode. You can call it whatever you like, but that basically gives you all 4 wheels turning at the same time. It's kind of like a fail-safe, but a lot of people think that this is the only way your four-wheel drive system works on a Ford is still to get out in the mud, is what they used to call it, and lock those hubs. That's not quite true. You have four-wheel drive even without locking them. People want to know, how does this truck ride? And how does it do in the snow? Well, I'll tell you what, it rides like a truck, okay? There are other trucks out there that ride a little bit better. The 3/4 ton Ram with its 5-link rear coil, I think that's a good riding truck. I think the Chevy's a good riding truck. None of these trucks ride like my first truck, which was a 63 Chevy. None of these trucks drive like a 70s pickup like my dad had. They don't even ride like the 90s trucks. These trucks still ride pretty dang good for what they are. In addition to that, sorry about that. Got a phone call in the middle of that. Anyway, in addition to that, they want to know, how do these trucks do in the snow? Well, they're all like a bar of soap at the bottom of a bathtub, okay? Unless you have a lot of weight in these trucks, they don't get around like an SUV or anything like that. You can expect to be sliding around here and there because there's just so much power and very little weight in the rear end. Now, if you carry a lot of weight or toolboxes or you have a bed cap on there and whatnot, I think you'll have a better advantage about getting around. But that's why a lot of these systems are just shift on the fly four-wheel drive. So when you get to the light on the ice and stuff like that, it can just flip it into four-wheel drive, get going again, and then once you're on the clean stuff, you can just roll it out and shut it off. All right, we're rounding out the list of things that people keep asking. How about the 10-speed transmission and problems that you've heard that it has, okay? All right, so Ford, when they came out with the 7.3, adapted to the 10-speed torque shift. This is the same 10-speed torque shift that you're getting in the 6.7 Power Stroke, okay? And not to be confused, this transmission that Ford has was never made in conjunction with Allison or GM, okay? This is their own transmission that they brought out a long time ago, and they've been tweaking, okay? Now, people ask, well, am I getting that same transmission in a motorhome or a body truck? That depends on how it's ordered, but for the most part, all the 7.3s that are going in Class A type motorhomes are getting the 6-speed that was back with the V10 and stuff like that. That's a great transmission. There's no ding on needing 10 gears, 6 gears, 4 gears. Shoot, I remember when my late 70s Honda had a 2-speed automatic. Okay, so at the end of the day, they're trying to optimize transmissions to work with fuel economy and everything like that. So my 10-speed, I haven't had any problems with. The 10 speeds we have at work, I haven't had any problems with. The 6 speeds at work, we haven't had any problems with. That doesn't mean that you won't have problems or that isn't a possibility. But what I can tell you is I love having the 10-speed in regards to fuel economy and keeping the vehicle in the proper torque band. All right, but the 10-speed torque shift is not new. It has been around and is proven. It's a good transmission. Last but not least, my impressions, okay? I've owned all those diesels, guys. I've had a diesel from the big three since 1988. Okay, I've driven non-turbo diesels, the 6.2, the 6.5, the 6.9, IDI International. Come on, I've had them all, all right? Is this an excellent truck? Absolutely. Is this a truck that you shouldn't skip if you're coming into the HD market from a half-ton? You shouldn't skip it. You should go drive everything possibly out there. All right, and see what works best for your family, comfort-wise and stuff, because there are so many nuances to all of these trucks that if you like comfortable seats, you might not like GM seats. They might be a little too firm. You might go to a Ram and they might be too soft. Okay, Goldilocks, go try them all and make sure it just works out for you. You know, so when I say I'm happy with this purchase, absolutely. Was I skeptical before I bought it coming from diesels? Heck yes, I was. Because why? I was apprehensive about what I saw on the internet when it came to problems that it might have. And then I came to my senses and said, wait a minute, all manufacturers have problems. All right, so that doesn't mean they're making junk. It just means stuff happens, right? So would I recommend this to my family? Sure. Would I recommend this kind of truck to my friend? Absolutely. Am I enjoying it? Yes. So far, it tows great. I don't know what people are talking about when they're like, it's a dog, it's going to wrap out to 6,000 RPMs. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I drive truck for a living now. Got about 4 million safe miles in big trucks and everything like that. And I can tell you that I can appreciate for what this vehicle is. And it's a great entry into the HD market for a consumer that's already coming from a half ton, and doesn't want to go to a diesel and doesn't want to jump up and has never had one, doesn't understand all the intricacies that come with owning a diesel. All right. This truck I can idle for 50 hours a day if I wanted to. There's not 50 hours in a day. So I know somebody's going to come at me and say, there's only 24. You don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, you know what I mean. You can't do that in the modern diesels. Thank you, EPA. Thank you, certain presidential administrations from years and years and years ago. But nonetheless, you can idle this all day. You can remote start it, not worry about it. And I think for somebody that's not knowledgeable about diesels and it just seems a little overwhelming, heck yeah, go buy a 7.3 Godzilla. I hope this answers a bunch of your questions, guys. I got a ton more content coming at you. I'm just trying to get out there, and we're going to work our way up to that. Let's shoot for 1 million views, and let's shoot for 50,000 subscribers. Why not, right? And I appreciate you being here. So hit subscribe, hit notification, and we'll see you on the next one.